All right, I wanted to address a couple of private messages that I've gotten off of YouTube. So I know the private, I'm not going to give everybody your whole name out, but I just want to address a couple of them, and I really don't try to do a kill two birds with one stone thing. I'm going to address some of these messages really quickly, and well, I don't do anything too quickly. Let's see. This is from Rick. I'm not going to say last name, bro, even though there's nothing, odd about what you've written here. I don't have your permission, so I'm not going to put you out there. This is from Rick. It was 3 days ago. It says, "Good day. Stumbled upon the channel a few weeks ago, and he's real happy with the content and real happy with me and all that shit. So happy, joy. I'm happy with that. So let's see where we can be of service to Rick. All right. He's 48. He's always been into working out. Never been on anabolics. There's nothing against it, but find it more and more that I'm getting sore shoulder joints to the point it's hard to lift my arms up past shoulder height. Man, that's drastic. More of an irritation than severe pain. Seems to come and go. Really fatigued when lifting. So he's had some injuries. He wants to know if I think glucosamine and chondroitin will help his joints. He's not sure about the muscle fatigue. All right. Well, to tell you the truth, in this day and age, and I'll tell you who we got this tip from, Vishard. Vishard is our guy, that's his thing, like Eric Wojo is our vegan guy that knows about building muscle, with plant-based nutrition, which he has the goods to show that, yeah, he knows what he's talking about. And that's my go-to guy for those kind of things. My go-to guy for these kind of things, really, if I'm not familiar with something or if I want to know the latest thing, is Vishard. Because Vishard he brings a whole different type of perspective, right, from more of an Eastern type of philosophy. And he's Buddhist. And just as a whole different approach, I believe. Like I always say, a lot of the things that separate us, they don't really separate us, they should bring us together. But our differences are strengths in a lot of regards. And in these regards, they're strengths. Like all the guys that I train with and that are around me, our little crew, our little team, all the differences are strengths. So, man, we're like totally down with those differences because we need whole different perspectives sometimes. Step outside of ourselves. We can't always do that effectively enough, right? So it's a whole different, a fresh, new pair of eyes on something. And it may not be fresh and new to that other guy. He may know it's like a no-brainer to him. He's done it all along and it works. Well, we all come from different places and backgrounds and histories and pasts and different upbringings. And we all have different perspectives as far as medicine and biology, as far as field biology and botany and things like that. So herbal remedies, it's from different cultures. They're used to different degrees. Some degrees, most cultures, a much greater degree than here in the U.S. But, the statistics back this shit up. So, anyway, Bashard, he hit me to this, right? And this is by a company called Solgar, and it's number 7, joint support and comfort. Increased flexibility, increased mobility, shows improvement in joint comfort within 7 days. Feel the difference next generation after glucosamine. All right, now here's the deal with this. All the ingredients, or most of the ingredients, there's 3 major ones basically. I may be wrong, I may be leaving one off, but there's 3 major ones that Bashar always says they're the thing to use. That, it's been handed down to him. It's just commonplace, in his world that these are, the 3 big ones that are going to deal with, joint pain, joint injury, swelling, any kind of that sort of an issue, right? And this happened to come along, and it has all of those ingredients and then a little bit more. And so he himself, rather than gather the individual ingredients, together and do his own thing as he had always done, he gave it a try. And if it met label claim, it should do, what he expected it to do. And it did. And he had a knee injury that was bad enough that he couldn't squat at all without extreme pain. So squatting was out. Well, I think it was something like 4 or 5, maybe weeks after beginning with this, he could squat. And I've squatted with him. There's a video with him squatting with us using that Dave Draper bar. Can't see anything wrong with his knee. Flexibility-wise, he doesn't have any pain or discomfort, nothing. So now he can run again and do all the things that he does. He's a very physically fit guy. He's not, overly muscular to where the muscle is achieved while sacrificing some other area of fitness or whatever, performance, No, he's more of a, he's a young guy. He gets around. He can do whatever he wants to do. I mean, he's physically fit for that. And he's got a good physique. So it works for him. And I'll tell you what we got in here. We got, if I can read the fine print, ginger root. That's one of his big ones. Turmeric. That's another big one. And the third real big one is white willow bark. And it's got other stuff in here. It's got other things in here, spice complex and some other stuff. But those are the 3 key players. And this actually really works. So now my girl, who has knee injury, knee pain anyway, right? She started using this. And how long did it take before you started seeing positive effects from this?
Probably 2 weeks. It helped my shoulder, my knees.
2 weeks. Helped her shoulders and knees, not so much her lower back, but her shoulders and knees. Like noticeably, up and down steps, all that stuff, no more problem, no more creaking. So this is what I would recommend over just glucosamine or whatever. It's called number 7, and it's by Solgar. Number 7 by Solgar. This. I literally would recommend it. It's what we're all using now. Prior to this, a bunch of us and a lot of strength athletes and powerlifters I know were using Super Sissus, right? Not sure who makes it, USP maybe, not 100% sure about that. But hope I'm not attributing it to them and it's another company's product. And that was a good product. Everybody loved it, everybody believed in it, but this is the new thing. This seems to be actually do a better job. Is that going to focus on this or what? All this money for this camera, you would think it could focus on it. There we go. So that's the thing that I would recommend is this. The other thing I would do is, what do you use as an ointment or a liniment or whatever? I like, I do the horse liniment, the equine liniment things and ointments. I use that. And another thing that I've started to go back to again and using is DMSO. It's an old standard from way back, tried and true. And it just works. DMSO, small amount, like anything. Start out with the lesser and see where it goes, right? Very little, very little. It's hot, it heats up, it works very well. When she has neck pain, her neck gets stiff or whatever, I rub that on it and it takes care of it for her. But I use it, I use it like this shoulder, slap tear, all this stuff. Now I've switched back over to DMSO. That's what I'm using. I mean, it's tried and true. So there's a bunch of stuff that can work. So I would use something like that. As far as anti-inflammatories, I mean, you have to experiment around and see what happens. There's been periods of time when I had shoulder injury and was still benching heavy, trying to bench around the injury, which it really didn't do any additional harm to it. And this is when I'm younger, of course. But a lot of the times, I'll tell you, we would take anti-inflammatories, prior to working out, just because the ragged cartilage, as it rubs, right, and it begins to become inflamed. As it becomes inflamed, now it swells up, it rubs even more. And if it doesn't hinder you right then and there, it will the next day. The next day is really sore from it because of all that. And the anti-inflammatories seem to keep it at bay enough that, with NSAIDs, kept it at bay enough that I could work out and the next day didn't suffer any repercussion that I could feel. Now the downside of that is, who wants to take anti-inflammatories and NSAIDs like that on the regular? It's no good. That's no good. If it's a temporary thing, something's healing or whatever, I don't advise it. It's not a good idea. It's not a smart thing to do, to go through, to go ahead and work out anyway and to do that, to try and circumvent some of the pain. But it did work. But I'm not going to recommend that. What I would say is, something that's going to handle more of a chronic type of aggravation or something, for joint support and things, I would recommend this number 7 by Solgar. And you could treat it with some DMSO and stuff like that. And then there's other things, of course, icing and stuff if you end up having, some kind of injury comes on. But the other thing you need to remember, and this is spilling over into another guy's instant message here. And the other guy is Old Man Powerlifting. And this is from 4 weeks ago, because I run behind, man. I run behind. And he's talking about, he's still trying to bring his lifts up. He's still trying to come up, and he's been lifting a long time, and he has respectable lifts and respectable strength still to this day. And he's in his 50s now, early 50s, and he's trying to bring his lifts up and go even heavier. So what I would just say to him is, to Harry, is the thing to remember is if you're not augmenting hormones, all right, like TRT, a lot of people, I'm not going to deny it, there are people out there that talk TRT that frankly are probably too young to really need TRT maybe, unless they have a medical condition, unless they genuinely really have low T. But a lot of people, they use that as like a get out of jail card, like it's kind of makes it okay, for them to be able to use augment test. Well, look, for one thing, it's your body, you do what you want to do with it. All right, you don't have to answer to any other man or whatever. In most parts of the world, more parts of the world than not, it's perfectly legal, it's perfectly fine, okay? Now, if you live in the U.S. where it's not legal, but other people can use hormones for all kinds of other things that are much more exaggerated transformations, and that's legal. So, it's fucking, who knows? It's catch-22. But if you decide when to use it or whatever, as far as morally, I don't think it's, it doesn't matter if it's TRT or what it is. But if you're just trying, if you want to stay on the right side of the law and do it legally, because what I'm saying is most people, they try to relieve that part of their guilt by saying it's TRT or going on TRT when they really don't have a valid reason to be on TRT. But what I'm getting to is when you get to be our age, if you're going to continue on this, even to be safe, you have a valid reason. If you go get checked out, odds are that you qualify medically for TRT. Odds are you do. And even that small amount, relatively small amount, it's not a small amount. It's not. But compared to the amounts attributed to guys today, that are into bodybuilding and whatnot, it seems like a minuscule amount, like you can't do anything. But it can do a lot. It can do a whole lot. The real deal stuff, that's plenty. But my whole point here is, when you get to our age, there's a whole bunch of hormones involved, not just testosterone. And the key player when it comes, in my opinion, when it comes to joint injuries and stuff when you age and connective tissue damage is going to be, GH. And as part of a TRT program, like life extension, TRT, whatever program, I don't know, it's a gray area, but for the longest time you could get GH in combination with your test, TRT doses. And even those doses that are like, 2 units a day or whatever it was or whatever it is, 2 to 4 or 1 to 4, whatever the hell it is, even at that level, even just a replacement amount is going to really be a lot of insurance against just unexpected. Of course, it's going to always be unexpected, but there are things you can do to prevent it preventatively. Connective tissue damage and joint injuries. Because as you get older, that is probably one of the key players, or the biggest player that people know of, that when you say GH, people know what you're talking about, just as they say test. It's the GH, the degeneration of our ability to produce GH. Those declining levels are like probably the biggest factor, in my opinion, as far as injuries, like severe joint injuries and stuff, and connective tissue injuries in older guys. And it just comes out of nowhere. It doesn't even have to be that you're trying to go for new PRs and stuff. It can be, fairly heavy weight that you've built up to being able to work with over a period of many, many years. And just the continuation of pushing this heavy weight that you were fine and dandy to push 5 years ago, and you still have the strength to push it, the muscle to push it, but all of a sudden no matter how many times you've done it in the past without any stress, not any noticeable, discomfort or anything or risk as far as you're aware of, all of a sudden, bang, something breaks, something tears, something comes apart and unglued. You blow something out, same weight, nothing different, but difference is the declining levels of GH and God knows what all other hormones play a factor. There's so much other stuff going on. I don't even know that we understand every bit of it. I really think we don't. But the declining production of these various hormones in our body, it makes you much more susceptible to these types of injuries, just sudden things. So it's not like you even have to be trying to break new ground, new PRs. I mean, you can get pretty torn up just by continuing to put that heavy stress, that heavy weight on your body as you age. Now, there's always the guy that is the rare exception here and there that he's still pumping the shit out like he's a kid almost. It happens. I know a guy like that. I know a guy that's 52, and, Danny Boulder, he's stronger than shit. He doesn't augment that shit. He doesn't use GH. And he has a legit 750 parallel squat, and he can bench 500 raw. He's got over 5 raw bench. So, and he's a competitive powerlifter. And this is a guy that's hella strong, 52 years old, still pushing his heavy ass weight. And he just seems to not break. He just keeps on going. But it's always scary because I keep waiting for something to come apart. I hate to say that because he's my friend and stuff, and I have a lot of respect for the guy. I like the guy a lot. He's a good dude, really good guy. But it seems really, really risky. So if you're still, wanting to, you have that hunger, the hankering to lift more weight, when you get into our age category, you really need to, buckle down and sit down with an endocrinologist or your doctor or get a referral or whatever and get tested and explain to them what you're trying to do, what you're trying to accomplish, what your passion is, and you're not going to let up, and that's what you want to do, and ask for his advice. And I'm pretty sure he's probably going to tell you, I don't know, you're skating the border there. I think that you're in a precarious situation just because of age. Again, you could be one of these rare birds that you're going to be able to do it, no problem. It doesn't mean forever. It'll catch up to you sooner or later. But you don't always have to do something reckless. You don't always have to do something wrong. Sometimes doing something wrong just means continuing to do what you have done when you were younger. And now that you're still, doing that and you're older, it's wrong to keep doing it sometimes. And you only find that out when something breaks. So when you get injuries and all this stuff, regardless of what other people tell you, they don't know how to train you. You must have done something wrong. Not necessarily. The wrong may be just that you shouldn't keep lifting like that as you keep getting older. You may have to make some compromises and come to terms and admit. And most guys don't. Most guys don't have that foresight. Most guys are going to experience an injury, and then if they decide they're going to continue and they're very passionate, then they're going to modify things. But it's better to do it on your own terms because it can be very disheartening, and it can be, psychologically, lets all the air out of the balloon. I mean, if you're forced into it, it's almost like, I don't get anything out of lifting now if I can't do that. I don't like it anymore. I'm a heavy guy. I like to lift that heavy iron. I used to be one of those guys, and I didn't lift for 3 years because I just didn't see the point. I didn't enjoy it the same way. But I've learned to love it anyway, and it is what it is. So that's about all the advice I could give on that. If you're going to keep trying to go heavy and heavier, it's, you're looking for a bunch of injuries or something like that. Just be aware that the likelihood of that occurring is far, far greater as you get older. Does that mean it's going to happen? No. But does that mean it's much more likely to happen than it used to be? Yes, absolutely. So that's just something to consider and think about, you know what I mean? And it's your body and it's your passion and it's your life. If you want to keep on going, full speed ahead, damn the torpedoes. You may come out the other end unscathed, you may not. But if there's measures you can take as far as providing yourself with some kind of insurance as to TRT or whatever kind of hormone therapy you can maybe get, I don't know the situation. I don't use GH just because I'm not that complicated a guy. It's too much for me. I got work, I got all this other stuff. Now I dedicate a lot of time that I barely have to this. I do as much as I can, this isn't my job. If it were my job, I could answer every question and be on time with all my responses and every other thing. So it's still just passion, hobby. And the last thing I want to do is add more shit into the mix and then have to do another thing, oh, I got to follow this and do this all the time. So I would greatly benefit from GH, greatly. It'd probably do a lot to heal the shoulder, help the shoulder finish off healing it. But so I don't know. I mean, I really need to do it, but I'm just like, I like to get in the groove and do things a certain way, and I don't really deviate a whole lot from that. So, it is what it is. I don't know if that's any help or any decent advice, but that's what I got. Let's see what else we got here. Have an off-topic one about hot rods, which is something I love, but I answered that when I wrote back. My opinion on this product. Okay, let's see here. Let's see what this is. Lipospheric vitamin C. 1,000 milligrams of C. Essential. What do I think about that? Lipospheric vitamin C, 1,000 milligrams, $29. And how much do you get? How much is in a bottle? How many servings in a bottle? I'd have to say that that's not enough. I'd say that for 1,000 milligrams of Lipo-C, it's too much money at that dose. Because for $29 you can get one that's 3 grams a serving, right? 3,000 milligrams a serving of Lipo. Let's see. I mean, because one of the biggest advantages, not only is it's like 80% assimilable as opposed to 12% if it's not lipospheric, right? Is that you can ingest more. Besides that, alongside of that, because who knows what the real figures are, numbers are, who the fuck knows, right? We don't know for a fact. We only know what we're reading, what studies say. So all that's with a grain of salt, Just because one guy works for him doesn't mean it works the same way, right, for somebody else. So the, it's to bowel tolerance. So the regular vitamin C, you can probably take 1,000 milligrams of regular vitamin C orally. Now, you're only looking at maybe 12% assimilation of that at the cellular level or whatever, what have you, average, right? Some more, some less. But you can already ingest 1,000 mgs without being, without the bowel tolerance issue, most likely. So you might as well just go ahead and for the same price get the one that's 3,000 mgs a serving, 3 grams for the same price. And lipo, and you'll get 80% of that. So one of that a day is going to be, not only 3 times more, but anyway, I think it's a bigger bang for the buck. All right, let's see what else we got. All right, let's get another question. Work in an office for 40 hours per week and train 3 times per week in powerlifting and 2 times to 3 times in kickboxing and jiu-jitsu. Would like to lose some weight. I eat too much and start a 16-week program. I have already completed. I bought creatine monohydrate, L-arginine, BCAA, and whey monohydrate. Could you please suggest how much of these supplements I should take? Thanks for your help. Man, it's hard to say. Weighs 215. He's 41, 5'11". I don't know. What's your protein intake per day right now? And what's going on? And personally, myself, to lose weight, I think it's, now see, there's so many ways to do it. There's so many ways. But myself, if you're looking to hold as much muscle as possible, or maybe gain a couple pounds of muscle, especially near the end, then you're going to come at it a whole different way than if you're just a guy that's just trying to get the body fat off, and that's what you're targeting right now. Specifically, you could care less about gaining muscle or anything else, just want the fat off. It's 2 different things, and then you can lose an incredible amount of fat quickly, either way. So, but they're completely different approaches. There's nothing similar about the 2 approaches. Now, if you're worried about continuing to hang on to muscle, if you're worried about muscle, then I would recommend you turn that protein up. I like to turn the protein up. more protein for me, in my opinion, and it works. I'll tell you when March gets here what I look like. I take in quite a bit more protein daily to lose body fat and harden up, without sacrificing muscle, and actually maybe even grow into it at the end a little bit, than just to drop body fat and not care about the other. So, and if I was just bulking, if I'm just getting bigger and not necessarily that much fatter, just bigger, trying to gain some muscle, I don't need that much protein. Even at my current body weight, 250, 300 grams a day, I'd say 300 grams a day to be safe. For me, I can gain muscle, even at this size. I can gain some more muscle. I'm confident. I mean, it takes time. I'm not saying that happens overnight, because it certainly doesn't. But the other factor to consider when you're thinking about how big I can get or how fast is that I've already been much, much bigger than this. Much, much bigger. Much, much more muscle. It's much easier for me to go, come back to it than to gain it the first time around. So it's not really I'm gaining brand new muscle that my body's never carried before. I'm just regaining. That's a lot easier for me to accomplish than, breaking brand new ground where I've never been before. You understand what I'm saying? I mean, if I've been 280 with abs, then, I don't know, body fat percentage of 280, 12%, 11%, I don't know. If I've been 280 at that size, then I come down to 250-ish or whatever, maybe 260 even, similar body fat percentage. It's a lot easier for me to come back up. I can do that in a lot less time than if I had never been 280 and the biggest I had ever been was 250-ish. You know what I'm saying? And then I was trying to go to 280. It's going to take me a lot longer. It'd be a lot harder. But either way, I can gain the muscle at about 300 grams a day of protein. But to come down and to cling to all the muscle, I don't want to starve. I don't want to starve it off. I want to burn the fat off, and I want to nurture the muscle. I want to create an anabolic environment to nurture muscle, maybe even encourage a couple pounds of muscle, you know what I mean, in the exchange. But to get the fat off, I want to burn it off. I want to do everything to target fat loss, but I'm not starving the body because I got to feed the muscle. So what I do is, you can play with your fats and your carbs. Okay, that's going to come down for sure. The carbs got to come down. But I'm going to turn that protein up high. And it literally turns me into an incinerator. It literally turns me into an incinerator. Now, is it the healthiest thing to do in the world? I don't know. I've never had any negative effects from it. And I keep a close eye on everything because I'm really concerned about that, longevity. Especially at my age. I'm getting up there. But you're not going to do this indefinitely. It's not like you're going to live like this. It's you're going to pick from this date to this date, see how much you lose, and you're going to turn that protein up to X, and at the end of it is the end of it. You see where you're at. And along the way, you have to take pictures like every 2 weeks, from the front, from the back, wearing not a lot of clothing, okay? You're not trying to look great. You're not trying to impress anybody. You're not going to be posting these up trying to attract people to you. You understand? This is for you to privately look at. You want to see the good, the bad, the ugly of it, and be honest with yourself. The only way you can really track that is with photographs. I mean, another better way of doing things like that is body fat calipers, right, percentage, and a scale. Those two tools together, because that's going to tell you, what you've gained, what you've lost, what it is. But other than that, if you don't want to get that complicated with it, or you're doing it for yourself and you're not sure how to proceed, pictures. Picture, every 2 weeks, pictures. Same pose, same kind of lighting, same amount of exposure, your body. One from the front, one from the back, one from the sides, optional, but definitely one from the front, one from the back. And then you lay these out at 2 week intervals. And you look at yourself. If you're thinking that you're not making the progress you expected, am I veiny over here too? Yeah, it's because I'm leaning over here like that. More like that. That's why this one's got more. Oh, well, I'm distracting my own self. There we go. Now we got some veins coming on. There we go. Like you're interested in that shit, right? Anyway, you lay these pictures out if you want to track your progress and you wonder if you're doing any good. You lay them out at 2 week intervals. You lay them out after you've taken them 2 week intervals and you look at them. The first time you come to a new set where you can't see any progression, on these pictures, you have to look everywhere. You may not see it from front to back, but you may look at the back and go, wow, that's not there in this picture. I couldn't see that there. That looks so much better. As long as there's something. But the first time you come to a set that you don't see any progress, stop, put on the brakes, and reassess and evaluate and figure out what you got to switch up. You got to do something. You got to move, weave and bob. You got to move. This diet has to be a fluid, living almost thing with you because you are a living thing. So you have to be willing to evolve that diet, modify things so that you can keep on track. Figure out what's going on and deal with it. Fix it. Don't. That's the whole point in tracking the progress. If you're just gonna do the same diet, regardless, then who cares about tracking the progress? You're stuck on that ride, but you're not. You don't want to diet that way. You don't want to diet that way. You want to be prepared, to modify what you got to modify to stay on track. So I would say, whatever you're taking in now, first you got to know how many grams of protein you're taking in right now. How many are you taking in right now? We don't know what you need to take in if we don't know what you're doing now. Where are you at calorically? Rough idea. Where are you at? If you only know your macros, you're going to get a good enough idea of everything else. That's going to pretty much dictate the rest of it. Basically, if you know about how much fat, how much protein, how much carbs, that's what you need to know. From there, you can figure it out from there. All right. If you need to keep the calories the same, you're gaining weight, but you're gaining the wrong kind of weight, then you want to turn, if you're trying to get bigger, then you want to turn protein up, depending on what's going on with the fats, carbs down. If you're not losing any weight, then you want to turn the overall calories down a little bit more maybe, or you want to turn up the cardio. There's so many ways you can do things, or you turn up protein. There's so many ways you can do things, and you got to have enough water on board. So we need more information. I can only give you a rough idea of what you might try, but there's many ways to go, man. There's so many ways you can do things. You're not really limited. Wow, you are huge. Do you ever do any muscle worship sessions? In a word, no. But thanks for thought. Let's see. Tiny, can you do a video addressing the piata and profit horse shit? Thanks. That was a month ago. Thought I already did that. And it's really not even irrelevant. You know why I did that, right? All right, let's see here. Got another one. Are they readily available outside of major gyms? Yes. Dave Draper bar. Yes. Yes, you can get a Dave Draper bar. You don't have to get it from a gym. Google it and find it, man. You can buy a Dave Draper bar. Isn't Dave Draper still alive? You can get a Dave Draper bar. I recommend it. I think they're awesome. Definitely get a Dave Draper bar. What else we got? What do we got here? I've been into bodybuilding many years and trained alongside some who competed in Universe and other top UK shows, and they simply won't share info. Sadly, arrogance is in their way. I have really come to understand bodybuilding on a far higher level now due to your teaching. You are truly a gentleman. Thank you. Hey, brother, you are welcome. Thank you for the compliments. Let's see. Hard time. I will check that out, but you didn't give me... I'm going to go back to that because I'm not going to put him out there to share privately. He wants some advice, so I'm not going to put him out there. I'm on test. My blood pressure is high. Just had a 3-hour-long anxiety attack when I smoked weed last night. Heart beating and fluttering real fast. Couldn't think a word or stand still half a second. It's like I was running just on the nervous system like a zombie on crack mega doses. Today I smoked a cig and almost fainted. Then I dashed for 10 seconds and also almost fainted. If I should shoot myself with test and some Deca tomorrow like planned or get off. That sounds crazy, brother. I'm not going to put your name out there either, but I'm going to say this. Me, I would get off. I would stop, dude. I would stop, man. I take any warning sign as a warning sign. I would stop until I figured out what was going on. I would stop. Nothing's worth it. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. Stop. I would stop, man. I would stop. It may not be the answer you're really looking for. You asked me, but I don't know if it's the answer you're looking for, but it's the honest answer. If you want my truth, I'm going to tell you right now. Believe me, unlike a lot of these busters think, I'm one of these guys that this shit here, all of this and anything that goes along with it, whether it's a small degree or a large degree or any other thing, if I'm having health issues or any kind of problem, that I don't have a handle on and understand what's going on and how to write it, I stop. I pump the brakes because it isn't worth it. It's not that important. It's not that important, man. Your health, your mental health, right? Your happiness, your quality of a life. Number one, all that shit's most important. Quality of life is what it's all about, right? What makes your life worthwhile and what makes you happy? What makes you happy, right? And less stressed. That's number one, okay? The other things are mandatories to have that, okay? Like you got to have your health. If you're not here, then you can't have that, right? Then you don't even need to worry anymore. But you got to have all those things too. Health, all that shit, man. Anything that cuts into that, you need to get away from. You need to get away from and figure out what's going on. So absolutely stop. Absolutely stop. No question. That's not even a hesitation answer. Regarding food prep, it's mind over temptation, is it not? Taking things back to the late 70s seemed to be all about hardcore training and strict dieting. What's changed? Willpower? Homegrown hype? Anyways, it is what it is. Regarding food prep, it's mind over temptation. Yeah, it's mind over temptation, but it depends again, man, how far along you are. Now, when I was, the video that I made showing you what I eat in the course of a week and food prep that was 6,500 calories a day. And I'll tell you another crazy thing, I don't keep track of calories. Like I said, I look at the macros and I don't even have in my head what it adds up to. No idea. Just for that video, I had to count it up and figure it out. And I was like, oh, that's 6,500? Wow. You know, well, I mean, I know a lot's a lot. But that was overkill and overboard. And you know what? After having made that video some time ago now, I don't recommend that to anybody. What kind of bullshit is that? Really? You know, spend all that money on all that, the time. It's a lot. It's a lot. You know, and for me at my age and for where I need to go and what I need to do versus what I just do for fun, right? The bodybuilding part, I don't need to do all that. I don't need to be bigger than this. I don't need to be substantially bigger than this. I don't need to look crazier than this at all. I'm going to get in really good shape for the Arnold. Now, if something would come along that was going to threaten my health or some kind of an issue or anything like that, you know, carrying the weight was a problem. If a problem, then I'm going to switch it up. I'm not going to just keep on plowing ahead. I'm too old for that, man. I'm too old for that. You know, at my age, one misstep can mean something harmful. So I ain't trying to get with something harmful. But that 6,500 calories a day and all that food, it's nice once you're in a groove, and it's really not that much of a temptation issue to eat other things because you're already eating so much. You're getting so tired of chewing your food and eating your food and all this, that you don't have the time to, you know. And I'll tell you another thing I used to always do when I was getting that far into it is when I would take some downtime just to relax and not care what I'm eating, I'd eat whatever I wanted to eat, whatever I damn well wanted to eat. If I halfway liked it and it was whatever, ice cream, cookies, I would eat shit out of it till I was tired of eating it. If I even halfway thought I wanted it, I'd eat it. Why? Because I would set a date. See, I do everything in cycles. I'll pick a time. From here to here, I'm going to do this. You know, 6,500 calories a day. 400, and what was that? 425, somewhere around there, grams of protein a day. Something like that. You know, I'm going to say from here to here, I'm going to do this and see what it's looking like, and I'll reevaluate, you know, midway through. If it's worthwhile, if I can cut back, what I got to do, and, you know, but at this date, that's done. So whatever, you know, I've already plotted out this much time I'm working on hardening up, getting bigger, but getting harder at the same time. And then this is the date I want to be in shape for. But I'm not going to keep doing that like indefinitely. It's just, you know, so I already have that in mind. So when I know I'm going to get ready to do that, something like that, I would go ahead and eat whatever I wanted to eat, not really deny myself anything like that, you know, food-wise, cookies, pizza, whatever the fuck I want, because I know at day X that shit stops. And once I started to view that from far enough out, and I already know, well, it's 3 weeks away, but on that day, I buckle down and do this a whole different direction. Once I know that, then it's easier for me to commit to that, and when that day gets here, I'm almost happy it's here, because by then I'm sick of eating the shit that I've been eating. So I don't really deny myself anything like that, and so that way I don't have the temptation. It doesn't make me feel tempted. But like I said, it just seemed like it really, rule diminishing returns. It's a lot to concentrate on, and I don't know. At my age, for me, it's not the way to go. Now, if you're really trying to come up, through the ranks now, amateurs, and you really want to turn pro and all, then yeah, you need to get that meticulous. You need to get that meticulous. And the reason why is because the next guy, he's going to be that meticulous or better. So you need everything you can get, And the other thing is you really need to know that nutrition. You really need to learn how much you can accomplish with your nutrition. I can't even overstress that or overemphasize that. You need to know how much can you accomplish with that nutrition. What can you make your body do, and how can you make it respond with nutrition by manipulating your nutrition? That's what you really need. And I mean every extent of that, the water, the vitamins, just everything, how you eat, what you're eating. One of the biggest things that I found was a huge discovery that I should have been messing with a long time ago was plant-based nutrition. I should have all along been consuming more plant-based nutrition. Definitely should have. I think I would have looked better, and I probably would have, it would have changed some things. I mean, I didn't do so bad for the half-assed effort I actually made compared to what I could have made. You know what I mean? When you're not giving it 100%. But I did give it a lot, more than most, and the point is, if you're really trying to go there, you gotta dot your I's and cross your T's, because the next guy, he may not be stumbling where you are. He may pick up that slack and keep moving forward, so he's already got that over you. Not saying you can't compensate with something else and pass him by, but why leave it to chance? And the other thing, the reason you need to know your nutrition like that is because the new crop of guys that are, they used to, that saying came around, it's all drugs, right? When I first heard that, I thought, what kind of ignorance is this? These guys don't know anything about this shit, man. We build muscle. But I'm going to tell you what, to be honest with you, over the past few years, I've come to understand that there are cases where it is almost all drugs. There are. And, in those instances, if you don't want to fall into that group, then, God knows what the end result of that's going to be. But if you don't want to fall into that, then you really, really need to know your nutrition, because I think most of those guys that are most obviously all drugs guys, they have a different look to them. I don't really care for it. I can see the difference in the look. And especially if they're using oil and shit, you can see that shit. I'm sorry, no matter how good they are at it, it doesn't look like real muscle. And a lot of people don't want to point it out, and they know who's doing this and that. They don't know what they're looking at. They're not that big, so they don't know what muscle looks like at that size. They don't even know. But me, yeah, I can see that shit, man. I've been that big. I am pretty big. I have friends that have been that big or are that big. So I do know what it looks like, and I can see that shit, and it doesn't look good. It doesn't look real. It doesn't look natural. And it just seems to defeat the purpose to me. I mean, if it was just about that, just go get some plastic surgery and never lift, and walk on stage and take a trophy for it. Seems hollow. But to each their own. But I think most of that crop of people now, the guys that fall into that category, I don't think they know shit about nutrition. I don't think they know much. They don't seem to. They usually, when I hear them talk about nutrition or whatever, they usually seem like, what? But, so I don't know. That's why I think all that's important. Nutrition, you need to know all those things. Anyway, that way you can be less reliant on bullshit. And those are the gains you're going to keep. That's what it is, man. Smaller amounts coming off, all these other things, you're not going to just, dry out and blow away. It just seems to have more longevity. I mean, it actually makes a difference in your body. It doesn't just look like your muscle, it really is. It's different. I don't understand it all, but it really is. That's true. All right, I'm going to leave it there now because this is getting drawn out, getting too long. But I'll come back and do this again sometime if there's any interest in it. It just saves me some time to actually get to address some of these things on video, make it a little bit more, make it happen. Right? So now I can post this, I can actually go do some, actual adult things that I need to do outside of this, around the house. All right, that's all. You guys have an awesome night. I hope you had a great weekend. And bear with me. I got a lot going on. And I'm going to be back with a lot more stuff up this week.